growing up, I didn't really understand the concept of morality when it came to finding and playing new video games. The only time I would ever get a new game is if my parents bought me one for Christmas or my birthday. And very rarely I would get a new game after saving up some pitiful amount of money over the course of sometimes years. Most of my exposure to new games would come from going out to arcades, before they went out of business. Or by renting games by going to something like a Blockbuster. That is, until I discovered emulation. Now, regardless of your feelings on emulation, there are two things that you should know about it. One, when you record videos with it on your computer, it almost always looks better than using some sort of game capture unit. Two, it's illegal. So naturally, emulation ended up being a big part of my childhood. Thanks, Obama. To be fair, at the time I didn't really understand what I was doing fully. All I really cared about was playing video games. And in the case of today's topic, I'm incredibly glad that I experimented around with it, otherwise I would have never found this amazing game called Seiken Densetsu 3. Seiken Densetsu actually originated as a Final Fantasy spin-off of all things. Squaresoft wanted to make a game that had the action elements of a Zelda game mixed with the RPG elements of a Final Fantasy. Who wouldn't like that idea? I mean, you take RPG, you take action, you put them together, boom! Final Fantasy Adventure, or Final Fantasy Mystic Quest in Europe, or Seiken Densetsu in Japan. It goes by a lot of different titles, but the basic story was very simple. There's this thing called the Tree of Mana, which is said to grant you eternal power. And in this game in particular, the evil guy, Dark Lord, is after all that power. Aw man, you mean the guy who is named Dark Lord is evil? What? This game would set the stage for all the Seiken games to come. You would run around and experience all this fantasy story had to offer you while hacking and slashing your way through enemies. But what separated this game from everything else was the fact that it was an action game, but you could still level up. Man, you didn't have to wait around for nobody anymore. It wasn't all like, oh, don't worry, I'm coming, but I just gotta wait for my battle bar to fill up real quick. I'll be there in a sec. Don't worry. But no, really, I'm really totally coming to save you. Be there in a sec. Nah, man, now it was all about the action. That sweet, sweet action. No doubt at this point you've already heard of Secret of Mana for the Super Nintendo. It's critically hailed as one of the best RPGs. It's constantly put at the top of lists everywhere. And people will even go as far as to say it's one of the greatest RPGs ever made. And hey, I'll gladly get on that bandwagon myself. It's a good game. See, look, there I am. On the bandwagon. But if you're anything like myself, then you know it's hard to keep your mouth shut when you know for a fact that there is something so much better out there. The original Seiken Densetsu was ported over as Final Fantasy Adventures, but the second Seiken Densetsu game was ported over as Secret of Mana. What most people do not know, however, is that there is a third Seiken Densetsu game. This is why I had to bring up emulation in some capacity, because the game was never actually released here in the States. To this day, still, the only way to play this game legitimately would be to have a Japanese copy of the game and know how to read Japanese. But I don't got time for that. I got video games to play. What do I think I am, some sort of Japanese expert? Could you even imagine to yourself for 1 second that there is a Squaresoft RPG out there that you probably haven't played that was made during the Prime years? We're talking Super Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, Breath of Fire, Romancing Saga, and of course, Secret of Mana. Oh my god, it's all so good! You see, that was kind of the thing with Squaresoft back then. They could put out any RPG they wanted and set the bar while doing it. The Super Nintendo had less limitations and more graphical power, allowing for a more developed story. Now Squaresoft has the means to take everything to the next level, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, when you look at Secret of Mana, everyone says it's such a great game. Well, how about the sequel? Let me just get this out of the way right away. I love this game. I mean, it's not without its imperfections, it's not a perfect game, but sometimes that doesn't matter, it's just the quality and style. All of it comes together and culminates in this epic journey that you can tell so much care and thought was put into. And the fact that most people don't even know about it. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Was I supposed to promote piracy? Yes? Oh, okay. The beginning of the game starts by throwing you the biggest curveball of all, and establishes right away how this game is gonna go down. So you can see here that there's a list of 6 different characters, but you only get to choose 3. Choosing different characters has a major impact on the way the game plays out. Each character has a different origin, class, and playstyle. Not to mention they all have their own distinct personalities, which changes how they respond to certain things in the story. For example, Kevin is a grappler. He's half human and half beastman, and because of this he talks in broken English. He's also a physical damage powerhouse, being one of the only 2 characters in the game that attacks twice. Each character's origin story has them starting out in all different kinds of places around the world. Each character also has their own specific motivations for going on a big adventure. And herein lies one of the biggest draws to this game. Whichever character you choose to be your main character changes who the villains are. So picking someone actually matters because their motivations carry on throughout the entire game. Sure, you're going to be going through the main core story with all the characters, but it's a lot more personal. So this is kind of when I have to say that I'm going to be spoiling some stuff in this game, so if this game sounds like something you would really enjoy, you should probably just go play it. Okay, I'm gonna start talking about stuff. Alright, here we go! Duran is kind of like your average fighter type character. He's really obsessed with getting stronger to defeat his enemies. He takes one of the more hot-headed character roles, with his motivations being purely about strength. His archenemy is Corrin, the Wizard of the Crimson Lotus, who handily defeats him in single combat. Get wrecked, scrub. Lys is the Princess of Rolante. Her kingdom is invaded, her father killed, and her brother kidnapped. All she really knows is that the Navarre Thieves Guild was involved. She's a pretty physical-based character, being an Amazoness. Her antagonists are Bill and Ben the ninjas who kidnap her brother, and also Big U. Carly's more of a light-hearted character. She's a half-elf, so even though she's in her mid-teens, she still appears to be a child. So subsequently, she acts like one. She's from the holy city of Wendell, and she's looking for a man she looks up to called Heath. Her archenemy throughout most of the game is Death Jester. We talked about Kevin a little bit already. He's a half-human, half-beast man who talks in broken English. He's looking for a way to revive his best friend and loyal companion, his dog Carl. His archenemies are known to be the Beast King and Death Jester. Angela's a little bit of a hothead herself, having grown up in the magic kingdom of Altena as the queen's daughter, who's a sorceress by the way. She didn't get the love or affection that she craved from her mother, and so she developed a really selfish attitude. Her new archenemies, her mother and Corrin, try to sacrifice her using dark magic to break the seals on these things called mana stones. She suddenly disappears and is out in the cold, unwilling to return home. And last but not least, we have Hawk, who I chose as my main character. He's kind of like a sassy Robin Hood-esque type character who steals from the rich and gives to the poor. He belongs to the Navarre Thieves Guild, and his motivation is to hunt down Big U, who forces him to kill his best friend and puts a curse on his love interest Jessica. So now the stage is set for all these characters to go on this huge adventure. Like I said, a lot of the fun of this game is to actually play it from different perspectives. Starting a new character in a different location fills in a lot more of the lore. During different parts of the story, you can often see other core characters lingering about the area. I'm just gonna go over here and talk to Angela while she's sleeping. That's probably not weird. Oh, no, that's not what I was trying to do, I swear to God. Get wrecked, get Shrek, get wrecked even more. So the beginning of the game starts out with all the characters, including our character Hawk, setting out for the holy city of Wendell. Every character eventually ends up in the city of Jad. But uh-oh, it looks like it's been taken over by beastmen. This is one of the first and definitely not the last time we'll see a big faction make a power move. This one in particular is here to teach us that there's actually a day and night mechanic in this game. One of the earliest RPGs I can think of that incorporated something like this. And it doesn't even stop there, there are actually different days of the week. Each day also represents a different spirit. On any given day, if you use a spell associated with the spirit of that day, it'll actually be more powerful. There's also a difference between the types of enemies you'll find at night and in the day. Oh yeah, and also, do you remember that guy Kevin from earlier? He can actually turn into a werewolf at night, his strength doubles, and he punches things really hard. Hashtag Team Kevin. Anyways, for the plot's sake right now, it actually has to be night for us to progress. So we go to sleep and sneak out of the castle at night into the forest. And this is when we run into our first enemies. Rabbites. Oh, they're so cute. They must die! Alright, 1 XP. The town we end up in is called Astoria, but we're on our way to the holy city of Wendell. But the path to the city is blocked by some sort of magical barrier. The townsfolk talk about some unnaturally bright light that occurred the previous night. Coincidence or not, we go to sleep and it happens again. Our character follows the light and learns that it's actually a fairy from the Mana Holy Land. Because she is low on energy from her treacherous journey, she is forced to pick whoever you choose as the chosen one. On the way back, the town that we were just in was attacked by the beastmen while we are away. From here, it's past the magical barrier and onto the holy city of Wendell. You'll also run into the character Carly on the way, and if you chose her to be a part of your main party, she'll join you here. So we continue onwards into the holy city, but first, it's time to shop. Excuse me, dancing merchant guy. Would you please show me your best wares? What do you mean we're on an important quest to save the world, Carly? You know what? No! You're like 5 years old. You have to tell me what to do? I'm an adult. I'm gonna go shopping if I want to. Even at the expense of the entire world ending. That's my right. Doing pretty good for a 15-year-old if you ask me. Can't believe I put up with this crap. Now hold on just a second, I'm gonna buy myself some candy. So anyways, you continue on and speak to the Holy Priest of Light. You ask him for help and he fills in a lot of the details of the story proper. The fairy has traveled a long way from the Mana Holy Land because the mana tree is dying. The only way to potentially save the tree from dying is to get an object known as the Sword of Mana. If someone happens to get the sword, the Mana Goddess may yet appear and grant the user a request. The Mana Sword is also a very powerful supernatural tool that is said to give you godlike powers. It resides at the base of the mana tree in the Mana Holy Land, waiting for one of the fairy's chosen ones to find it. So whoever you chose as your main character was chosen by the fairy, and now both their personal quest and the overall arc are headed towards the same direction. So now there's only one question: how do we get to the Mana Holy Land? Well, in order to do that, you have to open a gate, and that's only possible with the help of all the spirits. There are 8 of them in total, and they usually reside near the ancient mana stones, which were used to seal away a great evil. Possibly not the most original plot these days, but back then it sufficed. And I think you'll be surprised at how well it's actually executed throughout the game. So now we're off to get the first spirit, which happens to be in the cave next to the Holy City. We fight a bunch of enemies, you know, NBD. I'm really good at video games, guys. Oh man! RBD! So there is something that I've been neglecting to talk about so far, and that's the combat. Epic encounters against big bosses is a normal thing in this game. I mean, that might be kind of a common RPG trope, but because of the action-oriented gameplay style, it's a lot of fun. Like we mentioned earlier in the video, this game series is an action RPG, so it's more akin to something like Turtles in Time or Double Dragon, or any other beat 'em up that you're familiar with. Except now you can level up and customize your character, and you can cast spells. Once you have the spirits. Okay, Carly, cast the heal. Good job, man. Gal, good job. So combat works a bit differently than it did in the first Secret of Mana. Instead of having a bar that you have to wait to charge up to 100%, you can now just simply attack and your character will display an animation when he's ready to go again. Attacks are really fast and the cooldown is really quick, so you're always in the action. It's not like, 1, 2, 3, Not only that, every time you successfully hit something, a power bar at the bottom of your character's portrait charges up. So even after being in combat for a short amount of time, you can start unleashing powerful attacks. Which means I should probably mention at this point, because this is an RPG, you can actually class change. And this doesn't even just happen one time throughout the game, no. You can actually class change 2 different times, and there's a branching path system, so there are actually 6 classes in total, per character that you can change into, not including the original class. And each class has different spells, and later in the game, special attacks. Like I said, this game is highly replayable, and this is just one of the reasons why. Oh, and did I forget to mention that some versions of this game can support up to 3 players simultaneously? Because it does, and it's great. Okay, let's get back to the story. So we're fighting the crab guy boss, and we poked his eyes out and he exploded. But hey, we got the first spirit! Yay! Now with the first spirit, we continue onwards, but beastmen. They knock us down the cliff and then take us back to a prison in the port city of Jad. This is when you get your 3rd and final character of the game, which I chose Kevin. Kevin helps us break out of prison, and now our mission is to get to Forsena, which is where Duran is from. We have to talk to King Richard about where all the other spirits are because we don't know. The only way to get there is over this specific bridge that resides in the clefts of the earth. So we head over that direction, fighting all the enemies on the Golden Road. We get to the clefts of the earth, but now the forces of Eltanar are here and they stop us by blowing up the bridge. The only way to get to Forsena now is by a very special type of transport. Cannon transport! But the device only runs on gunpowder, which we don't have, so it's back to the clefts of the earth to find the Dwarf clan. After getting back, we use the Spirit of Wisp to reveal a hidden pathway to the Dwarf fortress. After talking with them, we find out there's another spirit here within the tunnels. So it's off to get gunpowder and another spirit. Alright, I'm ready. Open the tunnel.
There you go, have fun.
Thanks, man. So we fight our way through the tunnels and eventually to another boss. We kill him and find another spirit, and they give us some gunpowder for free. Now it's off to Forsena via the cannon. I think they're dead. Oh no! So we find our way over to King Richard, who tells us where some of the other spirits are. He also reveals that he was once a chosen one by another fairy, so he knows what's at stake and is willing to help. With all this new information in hand, we set out to find the remaining spirits to gain access to the Mana Holy Land. And this is where I should probably stop, because I don't want to necessarily spoil everything for people who haven't played it, which I'm sure there are plenty. What I would like to do is mention some of the completely awesome things that happen throughout the game rapid fire style, so if you're not interested in hearing any spoilers from this point on, click right here and it'll take you to the end of the video. Alright, 3, 2, 1, go! There's this random turtle guy that totally saves you from dying on a volcanic island. I guess that's just what he wears, but he's pretty cool. So you get all the spirits and finally go to the Mana Holy Land thinking you're about to beat the game, but it doesn't end there. Depending on who you chose as your main character changes who the villains are. So now all those characters either die or disappear. And then the main villain of your story steals the Mana Sword from you. And it's revealed that he's working for someone else, so there's another main villain of the story. The seals on all the Mana Stones are broken, so all the Mana Stones that you saw throughout the game burst open and reveal a bunch of god beasts that you have to go fight. So the game essentially turns into a huge monster hunt across the whole world. Depending on who you chose as the main character changes what the ending is too. Each character has a different place they're supposed to go to at the end of the game. And yes, that definitely changes who the final bosses. You also get Flammy. She's pretty cool. Secret of Mana 2 or Seiken Densetsu 3 is easily one of my favorite games for the Super Nintendo. Is it a perfect game? No. There's definitely a few things I would change about the game, like the fact that there's a little too much grinding for a game as short as 15 hours. Or the fact that some of the mechanics in the game are just straight up broken. But I'm willing to look past a lot of those things because the game is presented so well and it's so much fun. I think the game still holds up pretty well today and is one game that you should definitely not miss out on. Okay, back to the clickbaity stuff. Okay, bye. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching my video. If you want to support the show, then click that like button. You can also click the subscribe button to see all the videos that I do. There we go. Keep it, we're moving on. Be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. That's where I post quality things like me when my computer blue screens and haven't saved in at least 30 minutes. Cross his fingers for the autosave. And if you just can't wait for more videos, there's 2 videos for you to watch right there. Monster Rancher 2 and Top 10 Exploits in Video Games. That's it for me this time, guys, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!